humbly facilitate the session of welcoming remarks and statements. In our today's draft program opening ceremony, we are going to have welcoming remarks in this order. The first remark will be presented by Her Excellency Ambassador Joseph Asako, AU Commissioner for Abe, to welcome ministers and participants. Thank you so much, Excellency Commissioner. You have the floor.
Thank you, dear colleague, Secretary of the Commission, for giving me the floor. Let me have the honor to acknowledge the presence of Her Excellency Jessica Alupo, the Vice President of the Republic of Uganda, Her Excellency Dr. Monique Sanzabagwana, the Deputy Chairperson of the African Union Commission, His Excellency Dr. Mohamed Salam Merzou, Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Islamic Republic of Mauritania and the Chair of the Executive Council, Honorable Dr. Gideon Timotheus, Ministers of Foreign Affairs of the Federal Democratic Republic of Ethiopia, His Excellency Ali Mariam Desalegn, former Prime Minister of the Republic of the Federal Democratic Republic of Ethiopia and the Chair of the Board of AGRA, His Honorable Frank Tumezebe, Minister of Agriculture, Animal Industry and Fishery of the Republic of Uganda and the Chair of the African Union Specialized Technical Committee on Agriculture, Rural Development, Water and Environment, His Excellency General J.J. Odongbo, Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Republic of Uganda, esteemed Ministers of Agriculture and Foreign Affairs of the African Union Commission, Excellencies Ambassador and Permanent Representative to African Union, Excellency Ambassador Nozibo Jezile, the Permanent Representative to FAO and Rome-based agency on behalf of the African Group of the Ambassadors accredited in Rome, and the Chairperson of the Committee of the World Food Security of FAO, Excellencies Commissioners of the African Union Commission, and Excellencies African Union former Commissioners, Ms. Esterine Fodabong, Director of Agriculture, Food Security and Environmental Sustainability of AUDA NEPAD, esteemed parliamentarian, the representative of the REX, the representative of the Development Partners Institution, honorable delegates and other esteemed guests, the Secretary to the Commission of the African Union and the Legal Council of the African Union, ladies and gentlemen, all protocol duly observed. A good morning to you all, Excellencies. On behalf of the African Union Commission, it is my distinct honor to welcome your Excellencies to the day two. Sorry, I have the wrong paper. So, to the day three in the Kampala Extraordinary of the Post-Malabo Declaration. Today's discussion marks an important milestone as we anticipate the presentation of the report on the commendable work undertaken by the Ministers of Agriculture during their deliberation yesterday. This summit also provides a significant platform for engaging in constructive dialogue as we work towards the adoption of the 10 years Malabo, the Purpose Malabo strategy and the Kampala Declaration. These key frameworks are not only pivotal for shaping the future of our agricultural transformation agenda, but are also for achieving sustainable development across our continent. Before we proceed to the adoption adoption phase, we will benefit from the insight and perspective of the foreign ministers. Their contribution are precious and will on the doubly enhance the depth and the quality of our discussion, providing a solid foundation for our collective decisions. Allow me to take this opportunity to thank Your Excellencies for your solid dedication and commitment to advancing the vision of the African Union. I look forward to a fruitful and productive section today, marked by collaboration and unity in purpose. It is now my privilege and great honor to invite Her Excellency Dr. Monique Sanzabagwana, the Deputy Chairperson of the African Union Commission, to deliver our opening statement on behalf of the African Union. I thank you very much for your kind attention and once again extend my heartfelt welcome to all of you. Webare, asante sana, obrigada, muitas gracias, merci beaucoup, shukran.
Thank you so much, Excellency Sako. Excellency Deputy Chairperson. Thank you. Your Excellency Jessica Alupo, Vice President of the Republic of Uganda. Your Excellency Dr. Mohamed Salem Merzoug, Minister of Foreign Affairs of Islamic Republic of Mauritania and Chair of the Executive Council. Your Excellency Ambassador, representing the Honorable Minister, Dr. Gideon Timotheos, Minister of Foreign Affairs, Federal Democratic Republic of Ethiopia. Your Excellency Haile Mariam Desalegn, former Prime Minister of the Federal Democratic Republic of Ethiopia. Honorable Frank Tumwebaze, Minister of Agriculture, Animal Industry, and Fisheries of the Republic of Uganda, and Chair of the African Union Specialized Technical Committee on Agriculture, Rural Development, Water, and Environment. Honorable General J.J. Odongo, Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Republic of Uganda. Esteemed Ministers of Foreign Affairs, Ministers of Agriculture, Your Excellency, my dear sister Ambassador Josepha Sako, the Commissioner in charge of this sector, so critical to our lives. Your Excellencies, the Commissioners and Heads of Organs, our esteemed parliamentarians, representatives of diplomatic corps, representatives of development partner institutions, and all the delegates and esteemed guests, all protocol indeed duly observed. It's my distinct honor to be here this morning and on behalf of the chairperson of the African Union Commission to deliver this message, welcoming you to this critical joint session of Ministers of Agriculture and Foreign Affairs as we embark on day 2 of this landmark summit. Allow me to begin by expressing my profound gratitude to the government and people of the Republic of Uganda for their hospitality and for hosting us at this beautiful Munyonyo Commonwealth Resort. We owe a special acknowledgement to His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, President of the Republic of Uganda, for hosting us and for his unwavering dedication to agricultural transformation in Africa.
let us also recognize the leadership of His Excellency Abiy Ahmed, Prime Minister of Ethiopia and champion of the Caadp process, whose vision continues to inspire our collective endeavors. I'm equally grateful to His Excellency Chairperson Musa Faki Mahamat, whose strategic guidance propels our work forward, and also to the Specialized Technical Committee on Agriculture, Rural Development, Water, and Environment, chaired by Honorable Frank Tumwebaze, for shaping the objectives of this extraordinary summit. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, our continent is richly endowed with agricultural resources. At least 60% of the world's uncultivated arable land, abundant water, diverse climates, and a dynamic youth population. Yet, challenges like limited financing, weak infrastructure, climate change, and slow adoption of modern technologies hinder progress. This paradox highlights the urgency of the new Caadp strategy. With the right investments and partnerships, Africa can not only achieve food security, but also become a global breadbasket. This summit will be a critical session to unlock that potential, and also critical to transforming our agri-food systems into engines of growth, of jobs, and of prosperity. We gather today with renewed purpose to address the urgent challenges confronting Africa's agri-food systems. Earlier last year, in February 2024, the African Union Commission presented its fourth Caadp biennial review, highlighting the sobering reality that no member state was on track to achieve the Malabo Declaration targets by 2025. In response, our heads of state directed us to craft a new 10-year Caadp strategy and action plan 2026-2035 that reflects our collective aspirations under Agenda 2063. This strategy aims to build resilient and sustainable agri-food systems that will feed 2.5 billion of Africans by 2050, expand intra-African trade, and create millions of jobs for our youth and our women. It embodies inclusivity with contributions from diverse stakeholders, regional economic communities, farmers' organizations, development partners, and youth and women in agriculture, ensuring a grounded, representative approach. Through rigorous consultations and the leadership of Honorable Tumwebaze, we have reached a significant milestone with the endorsement of the Caadp strategy and the draft Kampala Declaration. These documents provide a blueprint for transforming Africa's agri-food systems over the next decade. Your Excellencies, this extraordinary summit will not just be another summit. It is a turning point, a moment to solidify our commitment to food sovereignty and the prosperity of our continent. Our decisions will shape Africa's agricultural future and secure a legacy of resilience and abundance for generations to come. As we delve into today's discussions, I urge each of you to contribute your insights and expertise actively. Together, we can ensure that this extraordinary summit of the African Union outcomes pave the way for a healthier, more prosperous Africa. I wish all of us a fruitful session and a year filled with health and success. Thank you so much for your attention.
Thank you so much, Excellency Deputy Chairperson. Our next remarks will be presented by Ms. Estaline Fotabong, Director of Agriculture, Food Security and Environment Sustainability. Thank you.
Good morning. Her Excellency Jessica Alupo, Vice President of the Republic of Uganda, Her Excellency Dr. Monique Sanzanabanga, Deputy Chairperson of the African Union Commission. Please kindly allow me to stand on the protocol that has already been established by the Secretary of the Commission, as well as Her Excellency Ambassador Josepha Sako, Commissioner of Agriculture of the African Union, to address with respect and gratitude this esteemed joint ministerial session of Ministers of Foreign Affairs and Ministers of Agriculture at this extraordinary summit on post-Malabo Caadp. Building on the statement that Her Excellency Dr. Monique has made, I would just like to say 20 years ago, our heads of state launched Caadp, the Comprehensive Africa Agricultural Development Program, through the Maputo Declaration of 2003. 10 years later, the Malabo Declaration of 2014 reaffirmed the Caadp agenda as Africa's vision for agricultural transformation, wealth creation, food security and nutrition, economic growth, and prosperity for all. Caadp arguably has been one of the African Union's most successful and impactful policy framework, with universal acceptance as the continent's blueprint for food system transformation. Your Excellencies, Caadp is at a pivotal moment as we come to the end of the Malabo commitment period this year. After 20 years of Caadp implementation, Africa is in a remarkably better position than at the time of the Maputo Declaration in 2003. But despite the progress that we have made, there still remain immense challenges. As mentioned, the 4 biennial reports that have been presented by member states so far show that we are not on track to meet the agenda that was set in Maputo as well as in Malabo. Our heads of states, therefore, at the 37th ordinary session of the African Union Assembly that was held last year, took note of this and instructed the African Union Commission under the leadership of Ambassador Sako and the African Union Development Agency to lead a process that will build on the strength of the Caadp agenda while adjusting and deepening its response to emerging issues, including issues such as climate change, conflicts, epidemic outbreaks, and economic shocks. They recognize the importance of developing the successful 10-year Caadp strategy, which we are proud to present here today, to be considered by your excellencies, ministers, as well as to be submitted to our heads of states for adoption. AUD and NEPAD, though we were tasked to lead this process, could not do it only on our own. We benefited from the general support and cooperation from our regional economic communities, from development partners, from knowledge partners, from non-state actors, and of course, of most importance, our member states themselves. This was a truly consultative process that was African-led. I am therefore delighted to confirm that we have this 10-year comprehensive strategy and action plan that will guide our continent in tackling the pressing challenges we faced in building sustainable and inclusive food systems once it has been considered and adopted by your excellencies. The process was informed by the lessons that we learned in 10 years of Caadp implementation, as well as opportunities to respond to emerging challenges that our food system faces, as we have witnessed in the recent years. Your Excellencies, the 10-year Caadp strategies embraces a food system approach informed by our deepening appreciation that a system approach is needed to address the complex and multifaceted nature of our food systems. On this basis, the new strategy emphasizes new elements such as strengthening agro-processing and other strategic post-production elements, as these are critical for driving sustainable intensification and job creation. The 10-year strategy and action plan also places emphasis on building resilient agri-food systems, given the impact of climate and other socioeconomic shocks on our food systems. The need to ensure inclusivity and equitable livelihood is a central pillar to the strategy, emphasizing the need for deliberate focus on women, youth, and other vulnerable groups that struggle to get access to productive resources. The 10-year Caadp strategy and action plan also recognizes the central role of strong leadership, governance, and systemic capacities for planning and execution of programs and policies in our member states. And lastly, the 10-year strategy and action plan is aligned with Africa's broader industrialization and developmental goals as expressed in the second 10-year implementation strategy of Agenda 2063. The strategy aims to create jobs, drive value addition, and position agriculture and food system as a cornerstone of sustainable economic transformation. Your Excellency, your agency, the African Union Development Agency, NEPAD, remains unwavering in our commitment to the implementation of the Caadp strategy and action plan to drive achievement of the continental goals of food and nutrition security to alleviate poverty. Working with member states and our partners, we are confident that we will achieve the ambitious target we have set for ourselves through this new strategy and action plan. I thank you for the opportunity to address you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Esterin. The next remarks will be presented by Her Excellency Ambassador Herut Zemene, Permanent Representative of Ethiopia to African Union and UNECA, on behalf of Ethiopian Minister of Foreign Affairs. You have the floor, Excellency. Thank you.
Your Excellency, Dr. Mohamed Salim Merzoug, Minister of Foreign Affairs, Cooperation and Mauritanians Abroad of the Islamic Republic of Mauritania and Chair of the Executive Council of the African Union. Your Excellency, Honorable John Mulimba, State Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Republic of Uganda, our gracious host. Your Excellency, Frank Twebiza, Minister of Agriculture, Animal Industry and Fisheries of the Republic of Uganda and Chair of the STC on Agriculture, Rural Development, Water and Environment. Your Excellency, Minister of Agriculture of Ethiopia, Dr. Girma Menti. Your Excellency, Haile Mariam Desalegn, former Prime Minister of Ethiopia and Board Chair of AGRA. Your Excellency, Madam Commissioner, Deputy Commissioner Monica Nasanzaboaka, Your Excellency, Madam Josepha Sako, and my good sister, Commissioner for Agriculture and Blue Economy for the African Union Commission, Excellencies, Ministers, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. As at the outset, I would like to thank the government and people of the Republic of the Republic of Uganda for the warm hospitality accorded to us since our arrival in the friendly and beautiful city of Kampala. We would also like to wish you a happy and productive New Year. I would like to convey a message of regrets from your brother, His Excellency Dr. Gideon Timotheos, Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Federal Democratic Republic of Ethiopia, who could not attend this meeting due to unforeseen circumstances. And I will deliver his message as follows. Let me begin by commending the Ministers of Agriculture for their commendable works in charting out Africa's post-Malabo Caadp agenda and the future of agriculture. Thank you, Commissioner Josepha Sako and her team for your commitment and hard work to support the work of our flagship project. We have put agriculture at the heart of our flagship project of Agenda 2063. We did rightfully so, as our commitment endowed with the riches that should put us in the right trajectory in terms of achieving sustainable and resilient agriculture food system. You all recall that during the fourth biennial review report, we have agreed that there were several exemplary efforts in the continent to meet the 7 goals we set for ourselves, particularly in the advancement of investment finance, ending hunger, boosting intra-Africa trade in agriculture, resilience to climate vulnerabilities. However, these successes were very much scattered, whereby Out of the 49 countries that have reported to the biennial review report, over half of the countries are lagging behind in meeting the targets we have set for ourselves. The African Union had made a landmark decision to transform agriculture in the continent with the adoption of the Maputo Declaration of Caadp back in 2003. This initiative was further cemented by the Malabo commitments in 2014, which set a target to allocate 10% of the GDP to agricultural development and register at least 6% growth rate per annum. However, after 2 decades of implementation, Africa continues to depend on imports to feed itself. In February last year, AU's chairperson for Caadp, my Prime Minister, His Excellency Dr. Abiy Ahmed, submitted a biennial review report to the Assembly. The report revealed that no country is on track to achieve the Malabo targets by end of the Malabo Declaration in 2025. Though the continent is not on track to achieve the Malabo targets, considering overall performance, there are also commendable success stories on country-specific implementations and in terms of coordination and mutual accountability in the continent. The report is crucial to inform our decision-making process and future courses of action. It would serve as a foundation for our ongoing efforts to address the challenges and harness the opportunities as we are examining the post-Malabo Caadp strategy and action plan. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, as we deliberate on post-Malabo Caadp agenda, we have to mobilize efforts to build a sustainable and resilient agri-food system that, among others, would require us to tackle in earnest the challenges of climate change, apply agro-technological schemes that support us increasing productivity in the agro-food sector. We must also make sure that no one is left behind, embracing our small and medium agro sector, as well as support the youth and women. This would require us to give emphasis on the requisite finance and investment mobilization to meet the targets we put forward in the post-Malabo strategy. Excellencies, Ethiopia's commitment to Caadp will continue through various initiatives and programs aimed at improving agricultural productivity, enhancing market access for farmers, promoting sustainable land management, and addressing rural poverty. Ethiopia is committed to implementing the post-Malabo Caadp strategy and action plan to enhance its agriculture sector. As a champion country, it is also ready to work hand in gloves with the African Union Commission and member countries to make sure our continent draws lessons from the past 2 decades of journey of Caadp and move forward to make up for the targets we should have made. It's ready to share its own gains through the following 3-pronged agriculture development targets. Its achievements in heat-tolerant wheat production and self-sufficiency in short period of time, massive forestation schemes in fighting climate change through its Green Legacy initiative, as well as build food sustainable and resilient approach through the initiative of the bounty of the basket. Ethiopia also seizes this opportunity to call on all member states to renew their commitments to the post-Caadp frameworks to transform Africa's agricultural landscape and realize food sovereignty. End of quote. I thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Excellency Hirut. Our next remark will be by Honorable Frank Tumwebaze, Minister of Agriculture, Animal Industry and Fisheries of the Republic of Uganda, and he's also the chair for the AU Specialized Technical Committee on Agriculture, Rural Development, Water and Environment. Thank you.
Her Excellency Jessica Lupo, the Vice President of the Republic of Uganda, His Excellency Dr. Gideon Timotheos, Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Republic of Ethiopia, His Excellency Dr. Mohammed Salim Mazag, Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Republic of Mauritania and Chair of the Executive Council, Her Excellency Ambassador Joseph Asako, Her Excellency the Deputy Vice Chairperson of the African Union Commission, Excellency and Honorable Ministers present and heads of delegations, representatives of the African Union institutions, and representatives of the regional economic communities, distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. I welcome you to this second day of the summit, and allow me to first appreciate you all for the eventful discussions we had yesterday during the session of the Ministers of Agriculture. In a special way, I wish to thank Her Excellency Jessica Lupo, Vice President of the Republic of Uganda, for sparing time to be with us today. Her Excellency has been with us on this journey since February 2024, when the decision to host this summit in Kampala was made. Let's give her a round of applause. She has since then been a champion of Caadp in Uganda, and for that we give her a round of applause that you've already given her. During yesterday's session of the Ministers of Agriculture, I reminded the session that we have little time remaining to achieve the targets we set ourselves in the African Union Agenda 2063. Therefore, it is important that we move into implementation mode of various strategies and pillars of the strategy and action plans if we are to realize the aspirations of Agenda 2063. It is only through execution of these good or wonderful crafted ideas that we are discussing today that the Caadp can have a meaningful impact on our people and for our people. As I welcome you to this session, therefore, I call upon you, colleagues, to not only advance practical ideas for the transformation of our agricultural sectors and the complementing sectors, but also call on you, and through you, your respective heads of state and government, to support implementation and or domestication of the Caadp strategy in your respective countries by embedding them into our national development plans and interventions by the development partners. During today's joint session of Ministers of Agriculture and Foreign Affairs, the report of the Ministers of Agriculture, underpinned by the draft Caadp Strategy and Action Plan and the Kampala Declaration, will be presented. We are looking forward to very interactive discussions and enriching insights from today's joint session, especially from our colleagues, the Ministers of Foreign Affairs. I thank you and wish you fruitful deliberations today, noting that the outcomes of these engagements will feed into the heads of state and government summit tomorrow. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Honorable. The next remarks will be presented by Honorable John Mulimba, Minister for State for Foreign Affairs in charge of regional cooperation for Uganda. Thank you.
Your Excellency Jessica Lupo Epelu, Vice President of the Republic of Uganda, Your Excellency Dr. Monique, the Vice Chairperson of African Union Commission, Your Excellency Dr. Ahmed Salem Mazog, Foreign Affairs Minister and Minister of Cooperation of Mauritanians Abroad of the Islamic Republic of Mauritania, Your Excellency Frank Tumwebaze, Minister of Agriculture, Animal Industry and Fisheries of the Republic of Uganda, and Chair of the AU Specialized Technical Committee on Agriculture, Rural Development and Environment, Your Excellency Kasa Zemene, representing the Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Republic of Ethiopia, distinguished Excellencies, Ministers of Agriculture and and Foreign Affairs in the room, members of Diplomatic Corps, development partners, and all distinguished delegates. Good afternoon. I would like to take this singular honor and opportunity to welcome you warmly to the Republic of Uganda, and also join my colleague for thanking Her Excellency Jessica Alupo, Vice President of the Republic of Uganda, for allowing to spare her time to come and grace this occasion where ministers of Foreign Affairs and those of Agriculture are meeting over Caadp. Your Excellency, thank you very much. Distinguished delegates, this meeting affords us the platform to contemplate on the last 10 years of the post-Malabo Caadp agenda, with a view to reflecting on the extent to which its objectives have been achieved. The assessment over the past 10 years has been sobering. Many of us have fallen short of the ambition of investing at least 10% of our national budgets to agriculture and rural development. The draft strategy and action plan for the period 2035, therefore, gives us the opportunity to reimagine in an ambitious manner the next 10 years in such a way as to avoid the pitfalls of the past and create the opportunities for the Africa we want. It will be necessary to employ determined efforts to ensure the implementation of the Kampala outcomes. Excellencies, 70% of African population is engaged in agriculture for subsistence and livelihood purposes. 65% of all uncultivatable land, arable land, left in the world lies in Africa, but yet Africa is still a net importer of food and suffers high food insecurity. In 2021, African countries spent almost United States dollars 68 billion on importing agricultural products. The food and agribusiness sector is projected to grow from United States dollars 330 billion to 1 trillion United States dollars by 2030. We therefore need to engage in production at scale, not only to address issues of food security, but also to leverage on the Africa Continental Free Trade Area in promoting intra-Africa trade. In our view, agriculture holds the key to accelerated, sustainable, and inclusive growth and development. Evidence suggests that in Africa, for every 10% increase in crop yields, it generates an estimated 7% reduction in poverty, higher than Asia's 5% rate. Neither the manufacturing nor service sectors can produce such an equivalent impact. According to African Development Bank, there is no region in the world that has ever industrialized without agricultural sector being transformed first. However, one of the main challenges of Africa's structural transformation is the continued export of unprocessed products. Your Excellencies, I wish to recall that Africa accounts for approximately 75% of the world's cocoa production, with 65% of this being produced in Côte d'Ivoire and Ghana. But the continent is a price taker. It's estimated that by 2025, the global chocolate market will be valued at approximately United States dollar 86 billion, up from United States dollar 139 billion in 2019. Out of this, however, Africa only receives less than 8% of the global annual chocolate revenues. Currently, the global value of coffee business is about United States dollar 460 billion. Out of this, all coffee producing countries in the world only take United States dollar 25 billion. Africa's share is only United States dollar 2.4 billion, with Uganda taking 1.14 billion United States dollar in 2024. Germany, on the other hand, on account of value addition, earns United States dollar 6.85 billion from coffee, more than all the African coffee producing countries. This pattern is the same for other commodities in which Africa is a major producer. The UNECA predicts that by transforming Africa's mineral export volume by just 5% before export, it creates 5 million jobs a year. Your Excellencies, this therefore means that Africa's structural transformation must be driven by manufacturing sector that will add value to her primary products before exporting them to international markets. This industrial drive ought to place special emphasis on agro-processed products and value addition to minerals. In so doing, we will be able not only to create the necessary jobs on the continent, but many of our young men and women, which many of our young men and women are looking for across the seas, but we would also be able to create more value for our products, to be able to power and structurally transform our economies. This will reorient our people away from the politics of identity to politics of interest, thereby addressing one of the root causes of structural drivers of conflicts on the continent. This is the intersection between peace, security, stability, and development. Your Excellencies, in closing, we wish to propose the following for reflection. Number one, there is a need for significant investment in raising agricultural productivity, provision of agricultural finance, and incentives for the private sector to establish food processing and agro-allied industries in rural areas. Number two, there is a need to promote the development of rural and market infrastructure, including appropriate structures to reduce post-harvest losses. Sub-Saharan Africa loses up to United States dollar 48 billion annually from food that is wasted post-harvest because of poor roads, inadequate storage, poor access to markets, etc. Number three, there is need to improve weather information and its dissemination and intensify environmental control measures to hold a decline in soil fertility. And finally, there is a need to strengthen the cooperatives in order to build capacity of farmers in management, entrepreneurship, group dynamics. This will enable them to engage in value chain activities, especially collective marketing. Asante sana. Mwebale nnyo. Thank you for listening to me. Muito obrigado. Gracias.
Thank you so much, Excellency Minister. Next, we will have remarks by His Excellency Dr. Mohamed Salim Merzu, Minister for Foreign Affairs, Cooperation and Mauritanians Abroad for Islamic Republic of Mauritania, and the Chair for Executive Council. Excellency Chair, thank you.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين صاحبة الفخامة سيدة جيسيكا أولوبو نائبة رئيس جمهورية أوغندا الشقيقة تبدأ من جديد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين صاحبة الفخامة السيدة جيسيكا أولوبو نائبة رئيس أوغندا جمهورية أوغندا الشقيقة صاحب المعالي سيد جيجي أودونغو وزير الشؤون الخارجية لجمهورية أوغندا الشقيقة أصحاب المعالي وزراء الخارجية أصحاب المعالي
Excellencies, Ministers of Foreign Affairs, Excellencies, Ministers of Agriculture of the Member States, Excellencies, Excellency Dr. Monique, Excellence Frank Mwebaze, Minister of Agriculture, Animal Husbandry in the Republic of Uganda, and Excellencies of the STC, Specialized Technical Committee on Water Environment, Excellencies, Madame Josepha Sako, Commissioner for Agriculture, Blue Economy and Sustainable Development at the African Union, Excellencies, Permanent Representatives, and members of the PRC of the African Union. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a pleasure for me to start my statement by completing to you best wishes for the new year, hoping this year will be a year of happiness for everybody. And that this year will enable us all to prosper and will enable the whole of our continent to prosper. I'd wish to convey to you greetings from the head of state of Mauritania, the chair of the African Union, chairperson of the African Union, who is greeting all on the basis of his desire to strengthen food security. I would also wish to thank, on behalf of all of you, the government and the people of Uganda for the warm welcome and the hospitality that were accorded us since our arrival in this beautiful country. I also wish to underscore the good organization of this meeting and all the facilitation that has been made to enable us to attain our objectives. Excellencies, this summit has been held in a very sensitive international context, characterized by conflict, aggravated conflict, without precedent, which actually requires radical change in our priorities. This has also had an impact on our capacity to interact with different international agencies. At international level, I've got polarization, and therefore we have got new challenges at political and economic levels, not forgetting climatic change. All this has had negative impacts on our work. The African Union, during this year, has had exceptional performance because the African Union made more visible its presence at the international scene and was able to mobilize substantive amounts of funds to strengthen its position at international level. The African Union has continued to make more efforts to enable us to attain agricultural development which is sustainable and resilient in the African continent, based on the important decision of Banabo. As regards the Caadp program and the declaration, all these are based on the challenges we meet in trying to have sustainable agriculture in Africa. These efforts are reflected clearly in the 2023 agenda of the African Union, which underscored in its first ambition the need of strengthening the agricultural sector in order to improve its productivity. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen,
les rapports des
the
Nations Unies
UN reports indicate that more than 1 billion Africans
ne sont pas en mesure
are
actuellement
unable
à soutenir
to sustain
les frais d'un
the
régime alimentaire
funds
sain
for
en raison
a
de
healthy
l'offre insuffisante et de l'augmentation
food
du coût
regime
des produits alimentaires
and the
importés.
costs of imported food
La population du
products.
continent devrait arriver
The population of the continent should be able
de personnes à l'horizon
to
2050.
feed more than 2 billion people in the year 2050.
Quatrième examen
The
du
report
PDA
of the fourth consideration of Caadp, which we discussed last February, showed a reality, a concerning reality.
s'est avéré qu'aucun pays
It was
sur les 49
shown that
qui ont présenté
on
leur
the 49
rapport
countries which
lors de cette
presented
session,
their
n'est pas,
reports during this session,
aucun de ces pays n'est sur la
none
bonne
of those
voie
countries is on the
pour
right
la
track
réalisation des
as regards
engagements de Malabo
attaining
concernant
the
PDDA, en Afrique.
Caadp engagements of Malabo in Africa.
La conviction de nos dirigeants,
The commitment of our leaders is that depending on others
l'alimentation au peuple
to
du continent ne
our
va pas
code
éliminer la faim
food
et ne va pas
to
réaliser
our
la
populations
sécurité
will not
alimentaire.
eliminate
Espérer
hunger,
ne peut que renforcer
and that will
la
only
vulnérabilité politique
increase
africaine,
political, African political vulnerability,
les rendra dépendantes
and
des
will
pays
make African
qui
populations
produisent des produits alimentaires.
more dependent on products, food products,
Résultant des
international food products.
sanitaires et
And this leads to health
vu lors de la crise du
hazards, as we have seen when we had the COVID-19 pandemic
devons assumer nos responsabilités
and the Ukrainian conflict. So we need collective efforts in order to foster a sustainable agricultural growth, in order to improve food security, using a comprehensive approach which emphasizes the pillars which were mentioned by ministers of agriculture of the member states. All this can be summarized in 4 points. First of all, we should put in place precise programs and strengthen bilateral and regional cooperation. We should also take advantage of the improved technology in place today and support farmers directly. We should also develop agricultural infrastructures and strengthen specialization of agricultural production. And seventh, we should take advantage of the AFCFTA. Excellencies,
le ministre, le président de la République,
the president of Mauritania, who is also chairperson of the African Union, is convinced of the importance of food security and has already called upon all of us here to make concerted efforts so that we may eliminate and eradicate hunger and bring compensation to African states and face efficiently the effects and impacts of climate change. And our country has mobilized a fund of $100 billion after the summit of 2021 in Nairobi, Kenya, in last April. Those funds are meant for executing development projects at continental level. Mr. Chair, the continent has put in place concrete measures in line with its aspirations to improve food security in Africa by giving absolute priority to development of infrastructure in agricultural zones, agricultural areas, and make available agricultural tools, fertilizers, so that we may be able to build roads and dams and energy networks in line with other continental efforts based on the principle that we are supposed to resolve all the challenges facing our country in order to attain sustainable development, regardless of other problems we are facing in the continent. This is not, it's not impossible to surmount these barriers and challenges, but all that we need are concerted efforts as well as consensual work so that we will be able to attain the aspirations of our populations, for example, eradicating hunger and strengthen food security and sovereignty. In conclusion, I wish to thank Her Excellency, the Vice President of the Republic of Uganda, for all her efforts, as well as Madame Haile Mariam, former Prime Minister of Ethiopia and the Chair of Caadp before Malabo. I thank you very much for your attention. And here we open our meeting officially. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Excellency Chairperson for the Executive Council. Ladies and gentlemen, I humbly would like to ask His Excellency Jessica Alupo, Vice President of the Republic of Uganda, to give us her address. Excellency, you have the podium.
Your Excellency Monique, the Deputy Chairperson of the African Union Commission, Your Excellency Haile Mariam, the former Prime Minister of Ethiopia, Your Excellency Dr. Mohamed Salem, Minister of Foreign Affairs, Cooperation, and Mauritanians abroad from the Islamic Republic of Mauritania, and Chair of the Executive Council, Honorable Frank Tumwebaze, Minister of Agriculture, Animal Industries and Fisheries, and indeed all Ministers of Agriculture here present, Your Excellency Dr. Gideon Timon, Minister of Foreign Affairs from the Federal Democratic Republic of Ethiopia, and indeed all Ministers of Foreign Affairs present, Your Excellency Ambassador Josepha Sako, the African Union Commissioner for Agriculture, Rural Development and Blue Economies, representatives of the African Union institutions, representatives of the regional economic communities, development partners present, distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning, and I would like to welcome all of you to Uganda, the Pearl of Africa. Allow me, ladies and gentlemen, to first of all thank you for inviting me to take part in this very important meeting. I wish also to thank the African Union Commission for honoring Uganda with the privilege of hosting this extraordinary summit on Caadp here in this beautiful city of Kampala. I find this meeting crucial because it is focusing on the development of a sector that we all identify with, i.e. agriculture. Here in Uganda, wealth and jobs are in the four sectors of commercial agriculture, industry and manufacturing, services and ICT. And I'm sure it is the case in many of the countries that we come from. Therefore, generally speaking, agriculture is the backbone of most, if not all, economies on the African continent, providing first-line employment to our people at various levels of the agricultural value chain, feeding into our nascent industrial sector and contributing significantly to our domestic economies. However, you are also aware that the sector remains largely underdeveloped on the account of a number of factors which our heads of state and government sought to address through the previous Caadp frameworks. I believe we are all gathered here again today because we recognize the need to continuously evolve strategies to address the bottlenecks to the agricultural sector as well as the other dependent sectors. Allow me to briefly highlight some of these bottlenecks. Firstly, low public sector investment by member countries in the development of the agricultural sector. Second, limited adoption of use of new agricultural mechanization technologies. In addition, over-reliance on nature amidst climate change conditions. Scarcity and high costs of quality agricultural inputs like fertilizers, seed, and breeding stock. Limited involvement of the youth and underutilization of land. Inadequate supportive infrastructure like energy, roads, skilled labor, markets, cold chain facilities, etc. And limited intra-Africa trade in agricultural products and slow pace of value addition or agro-processing. I am sure you all acknowledge these bottlenecks, and as we convene here, I hope this and more have been contained in your agenda. I am also hopeful that the resultant Kampala Caadp declaration will tackle these issues holistically. Finally, I wish to also note that agriculture should not be looked at in isolation because complementarity is key. Without energy, for instance, value addition will be affected, and without appropriate transport infrastructure, market access will be limited, etc. I therefore hope that you discuss this new Caadp strategy and action plan 2026-2035. You will consider following a value chain-based approach. As I conclude, I would like to challenge all of you to look into addressing the persistent import bill for food on the continent, reported to be about $100 billion. It is something that sends a very negative image on our continent. We still have capacity to produce, even with limited adoption of catalysts like irrigation, fertilizers, etc., because we still have underutilized land and our weather patterns are relatively good. Let us therefore, through this Caadp framework, aim to reverse this undesirable scenario. I once again welcome you to Uganda and further call upon you all to ensure that the resolutions of this meeting are implemented to the latter. I am informed that the fourth biannual review of the Malabo Caadp indicated some deficiencies in the realization of the targets, mainly on the account of implementation. I wish you all fruitful deliberations, and I invite you to take out some time to enjoy Uganda on the sidelines after the summit. It is now my singular honor and privilege to declare this joint meeting of Ministers of Agriculture and Ministers of Foreign Affairs officially open, and I thank you all for your kind attention.
Thank you so much, Excellency Vice President, for the remarks. Ladies and gentlemen, Excellencies, now it's the time for group photo and health break. Kindly, the group photo shall be led by Excellency Vice President of Uganda and the entire high table, head of delegation, His Excellency Haile Mariam Desalegn, former Prime Minister of Ethiopia, whilst all of us remain seated to allow them comfortable time to exit. Thereafter, all distinguished excellencies and guests, we can follow and have a health break. And after 20 minutes, we should resume the meeting for a closed session. Like yesterday, only those allowed to participate in the closed session will be expected back in the room. I thank you, Excellencies.